I've got something a little different for you today. I recently caught up with my friend Sean, who's also an ENTJ on the Myers-Briggs personality test. Now, Sean is someone who definitely inspires me. He's got a wife, 2 young kids, he's still in his 20s, and he owns and operates a number of different businesses, one in the construction industry and another in the financial industry. He's definitely a man who's seen success. He's someone that I personally take advice from and love to speak with. So we recorded our last conversation, which went for over 2 hours. For today, I've got a 10-minute segment where we talk about anxiety and how an ENTJ might experience anxiety, how they can understand anxiety, and maybe some tips to overcome anxiety. Now, before I show the clip, if you do want to see more ENTJ content and maybe even see the full unedited version of our 2-hour conversation, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Is this something that you would like to see? Even since I started teaching in 2012, I'd say almost the majority of young people have significant struggles with anxiety. And as an ENTJ, I'm not sure if that's something you experience too much. It's not for me. But
Usually,
I
it is for
recognize,
me. It'd be crazy to say that you like never experience anxiety.
I
Which
genuinely believed a few years
don't.
ago that I had not experienced anxiety. Like
Yeah.
I actually remember writing online, like, what is anxiety? Because I'd heard so many people talking about it, and I was like, I don't know what this is. What is anxiety? And I realized I had experienced anxiety, but for me, anxiety is when I'm in a situation which I can't control. Can I control this? Yes, no. If yes, do what you can to alleviate whatever's causing you stress, anxiety. If no,
Yeah.
forget about it.
Yeah. So what you're speaking about is extremely useful. Can I control this? No. Well then, let's just ride through it.
Yeah,
Right.
just accept it. Yeah.
But knowing that as like an ENTJ and then actually having what amounts to a panic attack is it makes it even worse because the anxiety is not logic based.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like something inside of you simply takes over and takes control of you and your thoughts, and you start having these negative thoughts that sort of turns into a massive feedback loop, and it's sort of like you as a person are sort of pushed aside in your head, and you're just screaming at this feedback loop, this ball just going vroom, 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 and it's just going faster and faster and faster and faster, and you're looking at it thinking, this is insanity. What is happening here? But you just start like getting super intense, and before you know it, like every part of your body is just clenched, and you haven't taken a breath in like 45 seconds or a minute, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this like, and your heart is just racing, and you can feel your pulse in the tips of your fingers, and like everything feels cold and sweaty and hot and everything at the same time, and it's like this thing just takes over the logic center of your brain, and you cannot, it's like being in a prison of a feedback loop of darkness. It's just a horrible situation.
Yeah. Wow. It's
That's
cool how
like,
you
I
even
guess that's
explain with
probably a
feedback
description
loop.
of yeah, it's like a feedback loop that you just like, you just can't stop. And so yeah, I'd definitely have that. Like there was like one time in January I lost like $60,000 in like 4 hours or something.
Yeah, I remember
And
that. Yeah, I remember you telling me
yeah,
about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I went through it, like everyone's like, Sean was all cool, calm, you know. But leading up to that, like I had a situation where I had like all these costs associated with the business, and I had all this pressure to perform, and I had all of this pressure on me, and it just felt like I was just horribly alone. And despite how much I tried to describe how I felt, I couldn't describe it perfectly. And then just people just couldn't understand where I was coming from. And all I just felt like was, I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone. And it was just like this feedback loop of like, I'm alone, I'm alone. And then it became like, it was like that for weeks, right? And then the hammer on the head was like, bang, you lost all this money. And it was like, I'm alone and now I have to like fix something and I've got all this pressure and now this, and then bang, something else happens. And it's just like bang, bang. And, I was like, by the
Why
end of
were
it,
you
it was
feeling
like
alone? That's sorry to interrupt there, but
just isolation. It's just like
because no one
it's just like the
understood where you
isolation.
were at, or
Yeah. It's like either people didn't understand what my issues were, or I didn't believe that they could understand what my issues were. And I think some of that may have probably stemmed from.
yeah,
It's like you don't know the struggles that I'm going through, therefore how can you relate or like make things better? Therefore you're not on the same journey as me or the same path as me. Therefore I have no one who can understand me. Therefore I'm alone. And now I'm just like, you might be surrounded by people, and like some people watching this may have experienced that, of just being like in a room, and I've had that so many times, of just being like,
like no one can even understand like 10% of what you're doing with your life, and like you can't even connect, like you can't even begin to explain or to have a meaningful
yeah,
conversation with them because the the just the lack of knowledge that they have because they're not in the industry, because they whatever. It's like you
yeah.
cannot connect with someone in an actual deep way, so you feel isolated.
But
Yeah.
in reality, they might actually have the perfect thing that they could say to you. But and
Yeah.
then, but it's sort of like that anxiety sort of stems from like a level of pride. So it's like, I don't want this girl to break up with me, right? Because I just can't accept that. I'm not the type of guy who who gets
Who gets,
dumped.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? I'm not the dumpy man. I'm the dumper. So yeah, or like to like a certain level, and maybe that like is like the start of the little seed that starts the. And it's like really important to just get to what is that thing that is, because that anxiety I found in my life generally always stems from a tiny little seed of pride somewhere, a
Wow.
tiny little character flaw. And then that
Hmm.
anxiety is sort of like my ego just trying to protect itself. And
Yep.
it's like my immune system going into overdrive to destroy a virus, and it ends up killing itself, right? And so it's like that, but on a psychological level. And so I found that there were things that I could do physiologically to arrest my anxious state or like my depressive state.
So
And
like
everyone
breathing or sitting somewhere. It's like when you
just
said
getting up
physio.
and just jumping,
Yeah.
or just
Wow.
screaming, just like getting into a car and just like, and like you're like clenched up, right? You're just like absolutely clenched up, and then you're just like, and like you're like, first thing is, oh my gosh, I haven't taken a breath in a while. So it's just like forcing yourself to just be like, like over the top, just like, just be like,
You
like
almost
you've
like
just come out
you've
of
lost
like the
touch
ocean.
with your body. You've just
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
really
that's exactly
externalized
what it
that.
is. It's this insane disassociation, like.